Good afternoon. Welcome to EduSet Network. Friend, we are discussing system of kinship, and when we talk about the kinship, there are three dimensions of kinship that come to mind. One is the structure of kinship, the other is family, and one more dimension is marriage. We talked about the structure of kinship in detail in a study lecture. Today we will focus on family dimension of the kinship, and in fact the changing nature of family, how it is evolving, how has been it given a shift. You say society and economy is interlinked. When the economy changes, society also changes. So in that case, how kinship moves and what role does it play, we will try to understand in today's lecture. And for discussion on this very topic, we have in the studio eminent sociologist Dr. Subhas Mahapatra. He teaches sociology in Delhi University, and he in last 30 years of teaching, he has participated in different forums and deliberated on the different issues of sociological issue, and also written 3 books on the sociology. So I think his knowledge and experience will help us to understand this topic and give a kind of guidance how to study the kinship and what are the way of looking at the kinship in these 3 dimensions. So on his behalf, I welcome him for the EduSet lecture on this very topic. Welcome, sir.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kumar. It's again a pleasure to continue our discussion from where we have left out yesterday. Yesterday we were discussing about various forms of kinship, types of kinship. I mentioned there, within every kinship system, one finds out descent groups present. We made deliberations on unilineal descent systems and non-unilineal descent systems. Within unilineal descent system, we had patrilineal descent system, known as agnatic descent system, and matrilineal descent system, known as uterine descent system. If one looks at India, one finds out Nayars of Kerala, they go for a matrilineal descent system. Garos and Khasis, they have matrilineal descent system. And in case of North India, we have patrilineal descent system. Extreme form of patrilineal descent system is present in case of Chinese society, Indian society, and Arabian subcontinent. If one looks into descent system, within a descent system, one finds out there is a primary kinship relationship present. In a patrilineal descent system, father-child relationship is strongest, and in a matrilineal descent system, mother-daughter relationship is strongest. And these relationships define right to inheritance, right to property, right to succession, right to residence, right to identity, and so on. Most of the early anthropologists who are taking interest in the kinship study are being questioned by Malinowski, Lewis Henry Morgan, Bachofen, McLennan, to name a few. They are interested in the study of kinship. Questioning to their approach to the study of kinship, Malinowski for the first time advocated that centrality to every kinship system is the institution of marriage. And on the basis of marriage, family system develops. Therefore, Malinowski goes on to say that family is centrality to every kinship system. And that family, which is universally present, is the elementary family, nuclear family. Nuclear family consists of husband, wife, and the unmarried children. So centrality to every kinship system is the institution of nuclear family. And A.R. Radcliffe Brown goes on to say that number of nuclear families, when get connected to each other, they make the system of kinship. When I speak about family, we can distinguish families into 2 types. One is family of procreation, and second is family of orientation. The family to which we are born is the family of orientation. It is the family of orientation because we get values, we get norms, we get ideas, we get certain kind of orientations about our roles, our status, our identity from that family. In that case, my father's family to me as a child would be a family of orientation for me. Then when a person gets married, having his spouse and children, he becomes the head of the family. That family becomes the family of procreation to him. Therefore, number of families of orientation and procreation, when they get connected to each other, that give rise to the growth of kinship. The question comes here is that why is family so important? And most importantly, can society sustain progress without the presence of family? We are living in a social world where we find out that around 60% of the people don't prefer to marry or get into wedlock in case of Scandinavian countries. Out of every 30 marriages in America, 10 marriages are converted into divorce within a span of 1 to 3 years' time. Therefore, marriage is no longer sustainable. Domestic cycle is not complete. Domestic cycle means parents give birth to children, children grow, they marry, they produce children, so family cycle becomes complete. When people prefer not to marry, they don't primarily contribute for the completion of domestic cycle. But still these societies are registering highest degrees of economic growth. Still these societies are guaranteeing employment opportunities to large body of people. Therefore, can we say today, standing at this juncture, that family is centrality to human society? In some societies, without family people survive and live happily. In some other societies, people cannot live without family. And with the rise of feminist tradition in sociology, it is perceived that family is a patriarchal construct. Family compels a woman to marry and give credence to her reproductive role. And since she is reproducing children, most of her productive labor is used for reproductive activities. Therefore, feminists strongly advocate that because of the advancement of technology, reproductive roles should be extended to technology, so that women can be liberated, they can explore their hidden talent and be successful in different spectrums of social, economic and political life. So these growing trends, may that be mobility from one place to another, may that be primarily, a quest for getting away from reproductive roles, maybe a sense of freedom that women are asking for, maybe technological development taking place in society. All these factors combinedly together are giving rise to a situation where people are escaping from family, staying away from family, they are questioning to family as a system, social institution present in society. Therefore, societies today exist without family. And most of the traditional roles allocated to family are extended to other institutions. Family no longer today is giving economic guarantee to man. Man makes money, he earns his class position from out of market, industry, occupation. Therefore, gone are those days when family was guaranteeing economic well-being to individuals. Family is no longer giving emotional support to man. Counseling centers are developed, peer groups are developing, friends are there. At the time of crisis, one is dependent on friends than on the members of family or kinship. Similarly, various sources of entertainment has developed. So family is no longer undertaking the traditional roles that was assigned to the institution in past. So therefore, without family or with minimal family, still society is surviving, progressing, developing, bringing happiness to the people. Therefore, one cannot say without family there is bound to be a crisis. That crisis may be persistent in some of the societies. Crisis may be presumed in some of the societies, but in other societies, abstention of family, disappearance of family is considered as a source of happiness and a form of liberation. So, I will be trying to integrate all these things while making a discussion on family, and I will be giving importance on the fact that how sociology in past was giving importance on family study, now giving importance on household study. Why this paradigm shift from the study of family to the study of household? Let me make one thing very clear. Sociology is a discipline that reflects on social change. But how should society change? What is the intensity of change? What is the consequence of change? These are not within the purview of a researcher. There is a reality outside, and a sociological researcher must have to make sense about the conditionalities, developments which are external to him. It's not a problem for a sociologist, whether he is studying his own society, experiencing social change by himself, or he is studying another society where social change is experienced by others, and he is simply making a documentation about it, explanation about it, critical analysis about it. So, when society changes, structural parts of the society also going through the process of change. Interpersonal relationship among the people within that structure, that also goes through change. Therefore, in this lecture, I will be making a kind of attempt to establish a correlationship between factors leading to social change corresponding to that changing nature of institution with specific reference to family, and the consequence of family transformation on larger society and individuals. I strongly believe that man is rational because he is social. He is social because he is socialized. Therefore, socialization induces sociability into the mind of a person. And because of this sociability, he is in a position to make distinction between right and wrong, legal and illegal. He is able to plan out his goals, working on it, using appropriate means to accomplish his goal, for which man is a rational being as against animals. That socialization, which is inducing sociability into the mind of man, is primarily given to man by family. What is family? Family is being defined differently by different group of sociologists. The most acceptable definition of family is, it refers to a social group, mostly primary social group, where married couple live along with their children who are unmarried, having some kind of linkage with or without the extended kinship group. Therefore, basic unit of human society is family. And the members of the family may be living under common roof, for which family can be converted into a residential group. the members of the family may inherit property from a particular source. Therefore, family will be a property holding body. Within family, there is a structure of authority. Therefore, family plays political roles. There is an emotional connectivity among the members of the family. Therefore, family gives a psychological bondage among the people. Therefore, family has residential roles, economic roles, political roles, socio-cultural roles, and psychological roles. You know, famous sociologist Emile Durkheim tells that family is a social situation where people belonging to two different generations, they meet each other. And every society is having a well-defined body of conscious collective. That conscious collective defines what is endorsed by the will of collectivity for the well-being of society. It means, you know, how man should be organizing his work, how he should be manifesting his political behavior, how should be reflecting on crime and punishment. All are endorsed by conscious collective. And that conscious collective, through the process of socialization, is injected into the minds of the child. As a result of which, identical form of socialization is minimizing individual differences among the people, and people articulate, individuals articulate the voice of collectivity. Therefore, family is inducing sociability into the mind of a child, giving him some kind of elementary idea about its social roles, obligations, duties, and so on. Therefore, if family is sustaining in a particular society, sociability is induced into the mind of the children, and children become an effective part of an organized, integrated social life. Therefore, Durkheim tells, family is a society in miniature, where communication of cultural ideas are given to the children, so that tension and anxieties are minimized and integration is glorified. Deviance are primarily minimized and conformity gets a momentum. Therefore, where family is not present, their socialization may not be greatly possible, and without appropriate form of socialization, deviance and conflict will be accelerated in social life. Therefore, Durkheim's understanding about family, right kind of socialization, has always become a matter of sociological interest for his predecessors. You know, many sociologists thereafter came into prominence, and these sociologists made an attempt to establish an interface between industrialization and family transformation. How the rise of industry, growth of urbanization, bureaucracy, modern society are contributing for transformation in family. You know, all sociological explanations are not same. It means cause may be similar, but consequences are different. If one looks into different industrial societies, America has gone for industrialization, European societies have gone for industrialization, South Africa has gone for industrialization, Poland has gone for industrialization, Philippines has gone for industrialization. You know, William Goody writes a very brilliant book. Title of the book is World Revolution and Family Transformation. He makes a comparative analysis of how industrialization has contributed for family transformation. He finds out that in case of Philippines, because of the rise of industry and urbanization, young children moved out from the villages to the city centers. And both men and women, they started working, getting disconnected from the traditional extended family. And because of women's exposure to modern employment, you know, the people who got married, they could not sustain their marriage for a long period of time. So the rate of divorce accelerated. Mother-headed families got a momentum. And if you look into Philippine society, it was traditionally a matrilineal society. Therefore, after its exposure to industrialization, nuclear families primarily were questioned and mother-headed household patterns developed in this society. If you look into South Africa, because of industrialization, people are migrating to urban centers, industrial centers, living there. But these people living in nuclear families for help, for support, are dependent on their extended families. Therefore, impact of industry on the family system is not necessarily universal all over the world. If one looks into Britain, during early industrialization, one finds out that, you know, the people, those who are coming to urban centers, living in industrial complexes, to meet different kinds of eventualities, the people living in urban industrial setup in nuclear families do keep strong relationship ties with the members of their extended family. So that when there is a failure in personal front, failure in business or economic front, people can get support, financial support, aids and advice from the members of extended family. Therefore, it's not just that, you know, traditional families are collapsing and in their place nuclear families are developing because of the impact of industrialization and urbanization. Classic example is the family system in case of Japan. You know, it is the families in case of Japan that injected the spirit of enterprise into the minds of the family members. Therefore, living in broader, bigger families, extended families, joint families, so Japanese families evolved into enterprise. Therefore, family-centric enterprise developed in Japan, and while sitting family, you know, sitting for dinner, so people discuss entrepreneurial activities during family time, and family labor is converted into economic labor for bringing prosperity to the family. So therefore, revolutions are taking place in different parts of the world, but the impact of revolution on family system is greatly different. If you look into communist Russia, communes developed, people getting into different occupations, they started living in the same communes, and members of communes developed intimacy, sexual proximity with each other, and the children born out of different unions were socialized by the matron or patron who are the head of the communes. Therefore, you know, the whole idea of family is changing depending on the political situation, cultural situation and social situation. If one looks into post-revolutionary Iran, one will be finding out after this great Islamic revolution, people became more committed to traditional form of family than traditional family, paving way for the rise of nuclear family. So therefore, there are two kinds of theory. One conventional theory tells that modernization, industrialization, urbanization are the responsible factors for the rise of nuclear family. Talcott Parsons writes, nuclear family fits into the demands of modern industrial society. It fits into the demands of modern industrial society for the reason industrialization demands the migration of population from rural areas to urban areas. The people, those who are living in urban areas, must have to go for achievement orientation. They should target their goals, accomplish these goals, accumulate wealth, must have to pursue individualistic values. Therefore, with the rise of modern society, there is a value transformation taking place in society. There is a shift from ascriptive orientation to achievement orientation. Shift from particularism to universal values. Shift from collective orientation to self-orientation. Therefore, individualism can only be pursued within nuclear family. It cannot be pursued with a larger kinship system. So, therefore, nuclear family is developing because both man and woman, they enjoy freedom, go to place of work, make money, and size of the family cannot be bigger, longer. For the reason that quality education should be given to the children. Their future security should be primarily worked upon by the parents. You need money to spend on education. One need to save to give economic security to the children. One must have to devote great time to socialize the children, direct their life. Therefore, because of economic compulsions, because of the demands of the new situation, nuclear family becomes suitable to an achieving society which is known as an industrial society. And Parsons goes on to say that family is evolving into an institution that is engaged in tension management role. It is through family socialization one is able to take his adult roles effectively. Therefore, family tells through the process of socialization to the children to conform to existential system, to communicate effectively with different institutions and groups of which is a part. Family gives sufficient knowledge about the culture to the members of the family so that they can play their social roles, control their individual ambitions in an effective manner. Therefore, family is teaching sociability. Family is giving knowledge about rules of law, values and customs, discipline, goal orientation to the child. Therefore, family, nuclear family is fitting into the demands of industrial society. So, therefore, sociologists are divided into two groups. One is looking into the necessity of nuclear family because of industrialization, conceptualizing. When traditional society is shifting into modern industrial society, then joint family is now converted into nuclear family. And nuclear family is guaranteeing freedom to the people, space for mobility. Therefore, nuclear family is evolving into a paradise on this earth. And series of functions of nuclear family are spelled out. It gives direction to man, economic support to an individual, emotional comfort to an individual, giving him political socialization. Therefore, nuclear family is the centrality to modern industrial society. This theory or celebration of nuclear family in modern industrial society has been questioned, reflecting on the tensions in nuclear families, crisis in nuclear families, problematics in nuclear families. You know, around 1940s to 1960s, it was felt that nuclear families are facing certain kind of crisis. Parsons was true to say that nuclear family is greatly responsible for, giving a momentum to economic growth of the country, individual freedom to the people. But at the same time, it was also felt that rate of divorce is increasing. Also, it was felt that domestic conflict is also getting accelerated. Also, it was felt that children refuse to stay within the control of the parents. So, These kind of conditions which are evolving in case of nuclear family gave rise to sociological investigation, and that came forward with certain kind of observation that questioned to the romantic theory of nuclear family as spelled out by modernization theory, functional theory and comparative sociological analysis. You know, it is true that when the size of the family becomes small, the expectation of a person from the other becomes high. As a result of growing expectation, if there is a variation between expectation and accomplishment, that leads to tension within the family. And we are experiencing same kind of tension within our family system in India today. When the size of the family becomes very small, parents expect their children to achieve big in life. Children's expectations from the parents are also multiplied. And parents, to fulfill the demands of the children, to give them proper direction to life, spend more time in the place of work and less time they have for the children. When parents are spending little time on the children, to compensate for their absence, material gifts are given to the children. Therefore, children are not socialized by the parents. Children are socialized by certain professional groups like midwives. And when the children are dumped into the play school at the age of 3, it is not family socializing the child, it is the play school or subsequently the formal school socializing the children. As a result, one finds out the children, they consider parents are neglecting to them. Parents consider they are making supreme sacrifice for the cause of the children. Both the spouses are at work. Hardly they get time to sit together, exchange ideas, go out. And that leads to a kind of tension in the family. So these families, by many scholars, is called as runaway family, where parental authority over the children is being questioned. Understanding gap between the spouse is evolving, and as a consequence of that, domestic violence is also intensified. Divorce is also accelerated. Therefore, romantic theory about family, small is beautiful, children are properly taken care of, their future life is always being disciplined, man is getting all possible kind of support from the family to rise in life, is being questioned by some sociologists who look into family is evolving into a kind of volcanic situation where tension is there, anxiety is there, conflict is there, violence is there, and possibility of separation is there. And within family, when debate is taking place over an issue, the small members of the family, 3 or 4 members of the family, are polarized into 2 groups. When one is initiating violence, the other groups are probably questioning to it. So there is a consistent and persistent dialectics that modern family is going through. So therefore, crisis in modern family is becoming greatly inevitable because of growing demands, growing expectations by one person from other members of the family. One will also notice that modern families are small and non-expandable. Now the kind of socialization we give to the members of the family is centering around individualism. Parents tell their children that your universe is limited to this space. Your universe is limited to you, your siblings and your parents. Beyond that, anybody coming to your family is having a temporal affiliation with family. Your studies are important, your success is important, and looking into the well-being of the small members of the family is important. Therefore, these values of individualism, these values of self-orientation These values of rationality is making man an individualistic person who lives within the family and getting disconnected from extended kinship group. The world outside the family is the world unknown. Therefore, all tension, all anxiety, all frustration, all misgivings, one getting from external institutions located outside the family, are finding out solution through the debates, through the discussions, through the sharing of the conditions of the events with the immediate members of the family. Therefore, family is becoming a heaven for man. When society becomes heartless and society is suffering from anonymity, man in search of emotional comfort, man in search of appreciation, man in search of happiness is absolutely coming back to family. Some people say there is family, therefore there is industry. Because industry gives importance on targeted work, frustrating experience, at times possibility of exploitation. So carrying all these kinds of tension and anxieties, when man comes back home, there is a spouse waiting, and when he is sharing his frustrations with his spouse, then he is spirited back. A purpose to his life is being spelled out to him. Responsibility towards the family is projected in front of him. As a result, the disillusioned man is coming back to family, and when he is getting out from the family next day, he is going as a happy being, again committed to work, performing his duty meticulously, having a target to accomplish. Therefore, we need a form of family, therefore there is a form of family. So, if that form of family is losing out its social relevance, it will not be sustaining in its original form. So, therefore, there is a kind of debate in sociology. One is celebrating to nuclear family in case of modern society, and other is primarily questioning to nuclear family in modern society. Some people say that nuclear family is greatly responsible for the destruction of self. You know, self develops when it is giving unquestionable freedom. This is a very important issue. I want to reflect on that. If a person wants to do something in his life, maybe one is interested to become a poet, a writer, an activist, or one wants to primarily enjoy nature than going to school. It is the family that is not accomplishing to the freedom of choice of man. Family writes the life script of its members, always gives examples about dedication of others for the cause of this person. Therefore, what a child should study and what he should not, how long he should study and what he should not, what should be the future goal of a person and what not, what should be the behavioral pattern of a person and what is not. Everything is determined, destined and designed by the members of the family. Therefore, man ultimately becomes that, or a child ultimately achieves that, goes for a kind of vocation, what he never intended to be in his lifetime. Therefore, what we are, that we are, because family gives us guidelines for it. Therefore, family makes a distinction between what we are supposed to be without paying any respect to what actually we wanted to be. Therefore, destiny is written by the discourses of family, ignoring to the personal choice or personal preferences. And many feminists advocate that family is greatly exploiting to women, whether nuclear family or extended family. Family is making women homebound, over glorifying their reproductive roles, ultimately compelling them to use their productive labor for the rearing children, socializing children, for which they don't get economic returns. And that ultimately gives rise to feminization of poverty. Head of the family being a man, all compensation coming from the state for different reasons is appropriated by man. And productive years of a woman's life is being used for either reproductive activities or socialization activities. Therefore, inequality on the basis of gender is institutionalized, structured, defined and directed by an institution called as family. Therefore, patriarchy defines the entitlement of women, institutionalizing a social group, primary social group called as family. Similarly, Marxists advocate that capitalist economy demands cheap supply of labor. And the cheap supply of labor is possible because there is a family. Because man's entry into the family tells him about his responsibility towards his spouse and children. His social liabilities, family always reminds him of. As a result, despite exploitation, deprivation, inequality, marginalization, a laborer cannot go and question to the entrepreneur, challenge to the entrepreneur. Therefore, spirit of revolution is being neutralized by putting a laborer into the domain of family. Therefore, family sustains, not that one loves family. Family sustains because without family, capitalism is not possible. When upper class are engaged in reproducing wealth to transmit that wealth from one generation to another, lower class in search of sustenance are reproducing themselves so that size of the family will be bigger, more number of hands will be there to work and sustenance will be guaranteed. Therefore, family is there in society for different reasons. Different sociologists make articulation about it, understanding and explanation about it. So, different kinds of theories, different kinds of explanation about nuclear family in modern society is given by the sociologist. They are holding different kinds of positions, and that is giving us a multiple dimension to our understanding or explanation of family system. What we see today is a shift from nuclear family to the growth of households. Therefore, what is the basic distinction between family and household? We should make sense of that. Family is a social group where people living together are related to each other on the basis of affinity, on the basis of consanguinity, on the basis of adoption. Therefore, family gives rise to three kinds of relationship, minimum three kinds of relationship. One, relationship between the spouse, affinity. Second, relationship between parents and children, consanguinity. And third, relationship between the siblings, brothers, sisters, sisters, sisters. So, these three kinds of relationship is enduring. Three kinds of relationship is socially defined, culturally prescribed. So, therefore, family is a product of society and culture, which is directing individuals to play different kinds of role. Hence, family is a sustainable institution. In many situations, the members of the family may be living at different places. They may be territorially separated, either for employment or for education or for some other purpose. They are territorially separated. But they share a strong sense of unity, affinity and integration. Therefore, sustainability is there in family. Family is not merely a residential group. But now we find out there are many instances in different Western societies where people refuse to marry. They don't marry, because marriage is no longer considered as an important institution to them. For the reason that state has taken up a big role to cater to the needs of the people. whether it is health related needs, old age needs, security. So state is primarily giving lot of opportunities to the people for which they are not dependent on family anymore. Health insurance coverage can be given to the people. Old age homes are created by the state. Personal security of the people is guaranteed. Therefore, people consider living in a family is a form of liability. Family is restricting to one's choice and freedom. Therefore, people don't prefer to live in families. As a result, one can find out a single person may decide to live all alone, getting support from different kinds of new institutions created by the state. That is ultimately giving rise to the growth of single member household. Since the rate of divorce is intensified, a woman is living along with the children born out of different men at different points of time. So therefore, one finds out mother-headed households, families are making appearance. So children are born out of different fathers to a common mother. Therefore, mother-headed households with a number of dependent children are making appearance. Also, one finds out friends belonging to same sex or different sex voluntarily go for isolation. So they live together with limited responsibilities towards each other. And the possibility of getting out of this relationship is both legitimate and easy. Getting out of wedlock becomes difficult. Therefore, in search of freedom, people prefer to live with their friends, and when they are living with their friends, their liabilities towards each other is absolutely restrictive. So this is giving rise to the growth of a new kind of household patterns. Also, one finds out that people suffering from terminal diseases, people those who are destitute, living in old age homes, keeping relationship with same kind of people, they are developing a household pattern. Therefore, non-family households are plentifully developing today in Western society. Household and family do not correspond with each other the way they used to primarily correspond in past. So, very importantly we find out, because of the rise of women's movement, growth of welfare state, disease and disasters, and because of interracial affiliations, sexual freedom given to the people, multiple patterns and kinds of households are developing today. And households are not talking about crisis in family. Households are speaking about the alternate choice given to the people, freedom given to individuals, not only sexual freedom, but also personal freedom, economic freedom. So in search of freedom, people question to family, go for household, reflecting on changing nature of society. If globalization means you can move freely from one part of the world to another, so people are understanding globalization, not just in terms of economy, politics, technology, but they are enjoying their freedom in the global space by picking up their partners differently at different points of time. So therefore, the entire situation is developing into a complex paradigm where households are making appearance, friendship is becoming more important than kinship, households are becoming more important than family, freedom is becoming more important than bondage to culture, and that in itself is talking about social transformation taking place in case of West. So we discussed how society changed. Traditional society went for extended family, joint family. Industrialization gave rise to nuclear family. Then feminist movement, globalization, rise of welfare state, quest for freedom, all these factors combinedly together gave rise to the growth of household patterns. Corresponding to that, sociology today is reflecting on not only a shift from traditional family to modern family, but also a shift from nuclear family to household patterns. Now let me just relate that in brief to Indian context. I always believe very strongly that Indian society is a family-centric society. The values of family, virtues of family is being told to us by epic stories. If one looks at Ramayana is a story of family, Mahabharata is a story of family. I find out in case of Ramayana, to uphold the pride of a brother and father, the entire kinship group is fighting the war. Ravan's kinship group I am talking about. To uphold the pride of the family and head of the family, entire body of kin members are sacrificing their life. Uphold the pride of family and kinship, Sri Ram I am talking about. A man is entering into his forest and his brother is following him. Other brother is denouncing the kingdom and tells, if my brother is not becoming the king, I don't enjoy that kingship. Therefore, India, historically speaking, culturally speaking, has always been a land of family, land of kinship. If you look into Mahabharata, again you see kinship. One family is fighting war against another family, standing as an unified whole. Therefore, gods do have family in case of India. Man lives in family in India. Therefore, India is a culture driven by the spirit of familialism. Gods go for marriage, man goes for marriage. Gods never go for divorce, man considers divorce is immoral. Therefore, what is moral, that is not legal in case of India, necessarily always. Therefore, in Indian society always we find out love for family, affinity with family, integration with family has been cultural, historic and contemporary. So, many sociologists have reflected on the family system in India, and I'll be dividing them into smaller units. First body of sociologists, those who looked into family, they are Indologists, culturologists, historians or evolutionary scholars. Louis Henry Morgan we can talk about, G.S. Gure we can talk about, Kapadia we can talk about, Prabhu you can talk about, plenty of them are there. They advocate that Indian culture was a culture of familialism, love for family, dedication to family, respect for family. But because of the impact of West, India is moving from familialism to individualism. Therefore, when the devotion to family is compromised with, man becomes an individual, atomistic entity. Therefore, when individualism develops, one goes for nucleated family. When familialism develops, one lives with extended kinship. Therefore, traditional cultural India goes for familialism, modern technocratic urbanized industrial India goes for nuclear family. Some scholars are coming forward and telling, where respectability to culture is high, their commitment to joint family is high. Where respectability and affiliation to culture is low, their nuclear family is high. Means if you look into upper caste, Brahmins, Rajputs, one finds out dedication to family, devotion to joint family is very high. If one looks into lower non-Sanskritic caste groups, one finds out nuclear family is high. Therefore, there is a strong correspondence between Brahminic Sanskritic culture and association with joint family or joint households, as against non-primarily Brahminic culture, utilitarian culture, commitment to individual families. Subsequently, one finds out, many scholars advocate, conducting empirical studies, that there is a structural disintegration of joint family. But joint family has not given rise to the growth of nuclear families. Means people in search of work are coming to urban centers. But people living in urban centers do have some kind of tie-up with their family members living in other parts of the country or in rural areas. On the events like marriage, on the event like important decision on the family, remittance of money, the members of a particular core family dispersed in different destinations, they meet each other, communicate with each other. Therefore, spirit of jointness is very much present among the members of the family. And if you look into other discourses, Marxist scholars advocate traditional India was a feudal India, and to feudal society joint family fits. It's a question of pride, question of honor for the members of the family. When India become capitalist, joint family is bound to be replaced by nuclear family. Nuclear family talks about concentration of wealth, accumulation of wealth. Joint family talks about division. Joint family talks about, corporate identity. So feudal is society, family is joint. Modern is society. Modern is society, family is nuclear. So in that way we find out, and contemporary sociologists advocate that household dimension to family should be studied. Don't speak about a shift from joint to household. So today we are looking into household dimension to family, getting away from the debate between joint versus nuclear.
So this is a kind of a natural phenomena that will nuclear family will replace to the joint family.
Yes,
because the society is changing, the other pattern of economy is changing.
See, the most important condition here is that what is nuclear family all about? Technically speaking, nuclear family is one where husband, wife, children will be having no connectivity with their extended kinship group. But India is a beautiful situation when, after the marriage, daughter comes to husband's family. While preparing food, she communicates with her mother about what kind of spices she is putting in the food items. When there is a marriage in the joint family, the extended members of the extended family are still consulted. So the structure is nuclear. I live with my family along with my spouse and children, but my brother's family visit me regularly. If there is some problem with them, they take my advice. The spirit of jointness is there.
Okay.
They are not living under the same roof. That emotional connectivity, economic connectivity, political connectivity is always there. Therefore, Indian society, despite being structurally nuclear, it is having essentiality of being together, living together, feeling together.
And that is because of the culture, tradition,
because of the culture.
Which is a big quit.
That's big thing. And that, you see, youthful population of India are living in European countries. But look into technology, I always keep telling that. More we are exposed to modern technology, more we stay connected to our extended family. Skype you look into, mobile telephone you look into. That is reducing the geographical barriers among the people. Every evening, child living in Washington is talking to his mother who is living in a village.
Okay. So it's a great thing, friends, and with this we conclude today's lecture. I thank all of you for watching the lecture, and on your behalf I thank Dr. Subhas Mahapatra for giving such an insightful lecture on this great topic. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.